What I'm about to show you is arguably the biggest story in the world right now, in my opinion, but it's being totally ignored by the mainstream media. Of course it is. They don't want you to know about it because it will upend the global world order. I'm going to show you all of the new data and the info in a minute. But first, the U.S. just announced they're getting ready for war with China and Russia simultaneously, because we can't just do one without the other, right? See, this is what happens when people start to lose power. They get very dangerous, and the U.S. is quickly losing power. This week, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced their new 2024 military budget, which aims directly at China. And get this is unbelievable. It includes a 40% increase in spending to attack China. The Pentagon recently said China is, quote, the most comprehensive and serious challenge to the U.S. national security strategy. Here's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin pushing for this new China war funding.
This is a strategy-driven budget and one driven by the seriousness of our strategic competition with the People's Republic of China. This budget will help us continue to implement our 2022 National Defense Strategy and the President's National Security Strategy.
So the U.S. national security is under attack because China is becoming an economic superpower. They want you to believe that your house and your backyard are going to have Chinese soldiers in it very soon. This is how they will scare you. Better watch out if you're grilling in your backyard barbecue because some Chinese soldiers are about to steal your hot dogs. They really want you to be scared. They're doing a good job of it.
In order to protect the American people, readiness now and readiness in the future through modernization is our number one priority, and there is no other number one. Right now, the international system is under stress. For the first time in our nation's history, the United States is facing two major nuclear powers whose vital national security interests are in competition with the United States.
They are hoping that you'll be scared, so you'll want to go to war to protect your hot dogs or your hamburgers. Even Governor Ron DeSantis is pushing this threat narrative, playing on the fear of a Chinese attack.
My view in terms of U.S. national security is that our number one threat by far is China and the CCP. They're strong militarily, they're strong economically, they've got the largest industrial base in human history, and they have ambitions.
So everyone is on board with this threat, and we need to spend billions more in this new budget to protect you. That's what they're telling you. They're calling it their Pacific Deterrence Initiative. That's the name of it. Deterrence. That's a good one. We're going to deter China and Russia by provoking them in their freaking backyards. The United States this week announced 4 new military bases will be built in the Philippines. The goal of these bases is for war with China. That brings the total number of U.S. military bases to 754 worldwide. Can you imagine? The United States has 754 military bases around the world. Just wrap your heads around that for a moment. But it's all just to deter them. They think we're stupid. The Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Zhang warned earlier this month that if the U.S. doesn't change its course on its military buildup in the Asia-Pacific and other policies aimed at China, it will lead to conflict and confrontation. So Washington has a death wish, and they're going to get us all killed if they don't want to back off. But they won't because of what I'm about to show you, and this is the most important part. So the United States just announced it's getting ready for war with China and Putin at the same time for a very important reason. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin are about to completely alter the international power structure and the monetary system. This is why they're getting ready for war. No other reason. The biggest story in the world happened this week in Moscow, and your mainstream media ignored it. This week, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin signed 14 different documents in their face-to-face meeting. The biggest had to do with trade and currency. It's perhaps the biggest story in the world right now, but again, the U.S. media was obsessed with something else.
He could be days away from becoming the first former president to be indicted.
Donald Trump is under multiple criminal inquiries.
If he's about to be arrested, it almost certainly means he's going to be indicted.
The media wants you distracted from the U.S. banking crisis and the decline of the U.S. dollar. Can you imagine? Probably the most important story in the world happened this week, and it almost got no attention. So let me know in the comments if your newscasts in your local markets covered this story. Probably not. So let's give it some real attention right now and give you the most important highlights. Saudi Arabia and Iran, Sunni and Shiite Muslim, are sworn enemies. They hate each other. And yet China just brokered a peace deal between them. Yes, China did that, not the United States and bumbling Joe Biden. China brokered a Saudi-Iran peace deal. Let that sink in. And then this week, Saudi Arabia openly talking about settling their oil trades in the Chinese currency yuan. This would replace the U.S. dollar. This, my friends, is the biggest story in the world. So let me repeat that. They would replace the petrodollar, the U.S. dollar that we use as a hammer to sanction any country we like. If the U.S. doesn't like you and wants to sanction you, they can, because if you want oil, you'll need to pay with the U.S. dollar to settle that transaction in U.S. dollars. So this is all about to change. It's not hyperbole to say that this will change everything. Imagine if the U.S. can't threaten you with dollars anymore. All they have left are weapons, and there's nothing more dangerous than a person losing power. You're witnessing it in real time. But if you need more news from this week, Saudi Arabia and Iran and Mexico all getting ready to join the BRICS alliance. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And we already know, we've covered this on the show. Right after Mexico made this announcement, the U.S. started talking about invading Mexico with military forces to stop the drug cartels.
I'm going to introduce legislation, Jesse, to make certain Mexican drug cartels foreign terrorist organizations under U.S. law and set the stage to use military force if necessary to protect America from being poisoned by things coming out of Mexico.
They're at war with you. You need to be at war with them. I can't think of a better use of our military than to blow up labs in Mexico.
They think we're stupid. Senator Lindsey Graham doesn't give a rat's ass about drug cartels. They only care about Mexico joining BRICS. That's it. That's what this was about. And this week, Mexican President Obrador fired back, basically called Biden and Congress a bunch of idiots for provoking a war in Russia and talking about invading Mexico. So what does all of this mean? Well, it would mean that if all of the major oil-producing countries in the world become part of the same alliance, it would mean that half of the entire population of the globe would be on the same team, using a Chinese and Russian oil infrastructure that's tied to oil and gold, and no longer to the U.S. dollar. This week, we saw a new record amount of gold being bought and stored by China. There are real concerns that we are running out of gold supplies right now around the world. It's becoming incredibly difficult to get gold. China and Russia are buying as much of it as they can find, and gold producers right now are scrambling to bring it out of the ground. Gold is nearing record highs this week, prices touching $2,000 a troy ounce. So all of this means we're spiraling into World War III. Over the past 48 hours, the U.S. launched airstrikes against Iran, but not in Iran. They attacked Iran in Syria because, of course, we're using Syria as a proxy. This is a response to Iran attacking American soldiers in Syria. Again, why the hell are Americans in Syria in the first place?
To make no mistake, the United States does not emphasize seek conflict with Iran, but be prepared for us to act forcefully, protect our people.
So Syria is ground zero for what's about to happen in this new world order. But again, just pay attention to Trump getting arrested. That's what the deep state wants you to focus on. So that's the news update part of today's show, trying to get you caught up on all of the big geopolitical developments over the past 48 hours. Now I want to tell you about our sponsor for today's video, which is tied directly to this changing world order where one currency is tied to gold, oil, and actual precious metals, and the other, the US dollar, is tied to nothing. That company is Calinex, and if you're an investor in gold and silver and copper like I am, you're going to want to pay attention to this. Now, Calinex, which produces gold, silver, and copper, has just raised millions of dollars over the past few weeks to start drilling in one of the best mining areas of Canada. Now, I told you about them back in early 2022, and many of you made a lot of money investing in them. I got a lot of emails from you guys thanking me about that. Again, it's not me, it's you, because I'm just giving you the information and then you're doing your own homework. So that's all on you. Good job. I'm glad that you guys made a lot of money on that. Back in September, when I told you about them, they announced drilling results, and that's always when a stock explodes. So I believe it's incredibly important to position your trades before drilling results are announced so that you get the benefits of that stock exploding. Again, they are getting ready to drill right now. So they're about to actively drill for gold, silver, and copper, and we have a massive shortage of all three minerals right now. With all of these sanctions against Russia, we're not going to get copper, silver, or anything else out of Russia. So Calinex is actively drilling and could announce drilling results very, very soon. And when they do announce results, their stock usually goes like this, straight up, which is very nice, in my opinion. Now, as an example, I told you about Calinex's silver production back in early September, and then a short time later, they announced drilling results. Their stock price went from an approximate $1.30 a share to over $2 a share. That was in September. And I'm waiting anxiously on their next round of drilling results. Each time Calinex has finished a drilling session, they've announced results and their stock has skyrocketed. as a result. So if you were to invest in